Well, thank you so much for your patience while we sorted out these technical difficulties. I would like to welcome you all to this, which something that I think you're going to find very, very exciting. Are there any of the past board members here? Any other past board members here? Please raise your hands. I wanted to just acknowledge these past board members because it is the past board and it's the past volunteers that have set the foundation for what you're going to hear. These people have been timeless in their energy, and I wanted to acknowledge them all for what they've done, because without them, we wouldn't be here today having any of this discussion. At the annual meeting, we talked a bit about what the longer-term vision of where the co-op was going to go, and I talked about the why we wanted to change it. And part of the reason we wanted to change the direction is because we wanted to talk about local food and food safety and food sustainability. And as a result of that, we talked about, okay, the fact that we were trying to raise money for a new store and all those kinds of things. Those things are still ongoing. But the second thing that I talked about was how the co-op was kind of at a crossroads. It either had to expand, it had to grow, or it was going to probably wither and die. Today, you're going to hear about that seed sprouting out of the ground and what it's growing into, because it's a really exciting thing that you're about to hear. In November, Danielle Graham was voted onto the board. Danielle brought with her to the board and to the co-op another type of vision, well, not another type of vision, a vision which also added to the vision that we already had. But in addition to bringing an additional leg of vision, which you'll hear a bit about, she brought the how we're going to get there. And that's what I think is the most exciting thing you're going to hear about today. How we are going to take this little co-op that started 5 years ago down at the Worm Farm as a bike club, and how we're going to turn that into something which is going to be absolutely phenomenal. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce Danielle. She's going to talk about in all the details, and then after Danielle's done, we're going to hear from Aaron about the cost and the how and a few of those kinds of things. Okay?
Okay. First thing I need to do is acknowledge that I'm extremely nervous, embarrassing my personality, so that's been done. Thank you for letting me contribute to the co-op. I have been a co-op member for 40 years. I have started co-ops, I have developed co-ops, I've bought for co-ops, I've worked for co-ops, and I can assure you the first 20 years of my co-op work was very different than the co-op work that's happened in the last 20 years. It was a different kind of world, different kind of co-op. So I have ideals and about co-ops, what they can be. And fortunately, I have not seen the co-op model evolve the way it could have to have served greater vision with for communities. So what we're going to talk about today, or what I'm going to open up with today, is to talk about how the board thinks that we can move into the future, the kind of organization we need to have to be able to do that, and the kind of membership structure that needs to support that change. So, page up, down, down. Page down.
Right.
Page down. My Mac would not talk nice with the projector, so we had to get a PC in here. Currently, right now, our Young Food Co-op, it functions as a natural foods grocery store. It's almost completely dependent on distributors for its inventory. And the question that I brought to the board was, is this grocery store model sustainable? And most co-ops, most alternative food stores, Whole Foods, everybody, they pay a lot of lip service to farmer direct food. But the fact is that the farmer direct foods to stores line of distribution does not exist. All right? Food corporations control the world. They control the distribution of food. And it is the same for our natural food distributors as it is for the grocery distributors. And in fact, most of the organic foods that are processed, that are distributed through the alternative food distributors are owned by the major food corporations. Okay? If our store, if the distribution lines were to shut down tomorrow for our store, we would no longer have a store. Okay? So ask the question, is that way of having a store, is it really sustainable for the future? Is it a sustainable model for the future? And that's the question that the board has been wrestling with for the last 3 months. The fact is, can I see this? You see Washington State here? Well, this part of the world right here is called the Cascadia bioregion. It goes all the way to the Continental Divide, which is the edge of the Rockies, all the way up into Alaska, down into California, but not into the wine country.
California. There's 2 other wine countries before
Goes
that.
all the way into western Montana here. This bioregion is one of the most abundant bioregions in the world. Okay? It's a little growing region in Skagit Valley. It grows 95% of the world's spinach seed. 98% of the world's radish seed. The food growth that happens in our bioregion is extraordinary. In fact, we export out of this bioregion more food than any other business that this bioregion supports. Okay? There was an article yesterday in the newspaper about how the wheat farmers alone are second only to Boeing, just from Washington State alone. Okay? These foods go out, away, and never have a channel food store to direct. And the reason those channels don't exist is because the corporations direct world food distribution. Okay? And we're a part of that distribution system. Our stores are part of that distribution system. Yes, we have a few market gardeners who provide us some produce, but in terms of the ingredients that form the basis for all the packaged foods that we buy in our grocery store, they go elsewhere. And oftentimes, for even the organic farmers, those contracts are locked and they can't sell outside of those contracts. And that's the way the food distribution system looks today. All right?
There's 2 colors in the green. Is there a reason there's darker and lighter?
That lighter is the edges of the states.
No,
The darker
around
gray.
like
Mountains.
Vancouver Island, going up the coast of Canada, and isn't that a darker green?
This is not a real professional map. It's just an idea
Okay.
to
So
give
there
you an
wasn't
idea
any-
of the food growing areas.
Okay.
I'll give you an example about wheat. There are many, many different varieties of wheat in the United States, okay? The 2 that are most grown in our area is in eastern Washington. It's called soft white pastry wheat. And in northern Montana, southern Alberta, this growing region up here, they make a very high quality, hard white winter wheat, all right? Most people don't even know what those wheats are. When they buy whole wheat, they actually buy a red wheat that's produced down in Texas and in Utah, okay? And most of the people who manufacture flour buy the wheats that they use outside of the very bioregion that they're actually manufacturing their flour, okay? All right, so despite the fact we live in this abundant region, there are not channels developed yet to have access to that food, okay? Page down. So we reviewed what does grow naturally abundantly in our region. How can we align the young crop growth with nature's intrinsic abundance within our region? How do we help to develop systems of agriculture to supply foods locally within our region? And what are the best, most financially responsible ideas for the co-op to integrate initially? Those are the questions we tried to answer. What we have to do to be able to become an organization that can answer those questions is that we need to grow beyond being exclusively a tax-paying retail store, that convenient grocery store operates 7 days a week, to a tax-exempt community service organization, which has in its purview a program, a retail store program, it has a farmer direct foods development program, it has a farmer's market program, a community gardens program, and a food and cooking education program. And I'm going to go through each one of those one at a time. The natural food store program benefits the community, benefits our community and our membership by providing access to foods that are not distributed through the grocery chains. You cannot find small-scale farmer direct foods at Safeway or Walmart. They only buy foods from the very, very large-scale agricultural food production systems. And that's all they can afford to supply. So our natural, as a new organization, our food store is going to specialize in providing access to those foods. We're not going to make the groceries go away. We're not going to make the things that we're most familiar with and comfortable with go away. We're going to build and start developing those streams of foods directly to our store and our membership and our community. A farmer's market program. How does a farmer's market program benefit our community? Well, because we are all real abundant gardeners here, for those that are really big gardeners, this is a huge opportunity to be able to sell your products and generate income to the community on your behalf. To be a farmer's market, to sponsor a farmer's market in the city of Yelm, you have to be a nonprofit. All right? So what this program does is it allows our membership to create a line of income for themselves. One of the biggest problems we face in this community, and like all other communities, is that we have lost a generation of people who believe that this is a food group and have no idea that it comes from this. And I can bill all the board directors, they have been to meetings, big agricultural meetings, and hear the stories time and time again where the kids have lost the relationship of where the food they eat actually sources from. It's tragic. I had a meeting at UCBO during Thanksgiving, and Cindy Cecil, who runs the UCBO, had the same stories. She invited middle school kids to help her in her garden. They were shocked to see the carrots come out of the dirt. They came back the next day and said, "Can we pull some corn out of the dirt?" Okay? These are not uncommon stories. They are very common in our community. And as long as we have a population of people in our community who think that way and believe that way, our community is not sustainable. Therefore, we are now engaging in a community gardening program. And how this benefits the community is in huge ways that we can't even begin to comprehend. Provides interactive hand-on gardening and composting education for children and adults. And believe me, the programs that we've got on the building block right now are to create jobs. The most important part of everything that the co-op wants to engage is that everything has to do with education. The service we provide the community is access and knowledge. And I would just like to say this about our community. What we're talking about right now is really quite ambitious. Like I said, everybody pays lip service, but nobody does it. Nobody does it in a comprehensive way that serves the community in a comprehensive way. No one's put that together yet. But I perceive that our community is uniquely predisposed. We have a community that knows how to stock a pantry, how to rotate it, how to use it. We have a community that gardens. We know how to plant something, we know how to eat it. Most communities do not have such a large population of people who already have those two fundamental elements down. It puts us in a position to bring very proactive change into a community that is waiting for this information, waiting for this knowledge, waiting for healthy foods, waiting for access, waiting to change their lives. And I want to say one other thing. There are a lot of programs in the city right now, lots of them, that are meeting the needs of people that need to have their needs met. There are a lot of programs right now feeding people, a lot of programs providing access to foods. It's not just a few, it's all of them. There are many programs that are doing that. There is no other program that is addressing this issue out there for long-term solutions. Okay? To be able to create the organization we need to have all of these programs and operate all these programs, we have to change from being a for-profit company to a nonprofit 501c3 tax-exempt education-based community service organization. To be able to change our organizational functioning, we have to change our membership structure. Okay? And I think there's one more. Anyone? So Aaron's going to stand up and he's going to talk about the proposed new membership structure changes. But before we do that, somebody's going to pass out a sheet that has the information on both sides of the sheet. All right. Oh, okay.
Actually, we want to cut it in half.
Yeah.
I'll walk it over there and start with
Okay. So here it is in black and white and red and a little blue. Oh, that's okay, you're on. So thank you, and Aaron, Vice President of the board, he's gonna talk to you about the
I'm really ecstatic to see the turnout here, truthfully, because I know in the past it's just really been our annual meeting. So to be able to call this special meeting and see the group come together is as inspiring as the discussions that we've had at the board level. And to that point, what I want to say is, from the time of the annual meeting, we have, our board is 5 people right now, and it's an all-volunteer board. And I would seriously venture to say that we have probably put in close to 500 man-hours going through this entire thing in our heads and figuring out what it would take. And some more than others. I mean, just the application alone to apply to become a 501c3 is about a 20-page application. And it's a bear. You know, and Danielle pretty much just jumped right in with that. But we pushed at that pace to be able to get here now. And it's interesting to see things that have come at the same time. Danielle referenced the city now supporting a farmer's market. That code in their laws shifted just this past year.
the second week of December.
So running right alongside of us, you know, they've rewritten their code to allow a farmer's market, and it happens to write, completely unrelated to us, but not, that you have to be a nonprofit to be able to facilitate that. So of course, in doing this, we become uniquely positioned just because of the basis of our original business, but also the minds that are here, to take that and run it at an extremely high level. So I just wanted to provide that background for everybody. This discussion alone has been a number of hours. I mean, us as members, and just thinking about what does it mean to be a member, what are we expecting in return for our membership, What am I looking to be able to contribute also as being a member of a community service organization? And as Danielle mentioned, the primary reason, of course, is as a 501c3, you have to be very clean in how things are being reported. If you're providing benefits, if it's compensation, it's one thing, but if there are benefits either through discounts or things like that, it has to be very detailed, and the membership itself has to be outlined specifically. And what we did was we took a look at, of course, what was our current structure, and currently we had just a one-time fee. It started off as $135 when the co-op first began. At the time we restructured it about a year and a half ago, we were in a different space. Our space at that point was totally about driving membership and getting ourselves out into the community and expanding. So we restructured down to $75, and during that period, we pretty much saw our membership double. We broke the 1,000 member mark, I think, in this month. So that to me was a huge milestone. And now, we're moving that fast, and now it's time to retool again and look and see what is the membership structure, how does it serve the organization that then has the resources to give that back out to the membership and the community at large. So what we've come up with here is pretty much our retail grocery store is still going to continue to be the cash generator. Farmers market, community service, our community gardens, not speaking on behalf of the board, but just in my own mind from my experience with those two things, if you can get those things to break even at the beginning, heck, you're doing exceptionally well. So, but those are programs that are going to require funding. And we still very much have the mindset of expanding our retail store. That has not been taken off the table as well. So what it really boiled down to, anyway we looked at it, is we do need some working capital, for lack of a better phrase. And if it was a for-profit business, you can go out and ask investors to provide you with funds. But you shrink your pool down to a very small group of individuals, and like we've said before, you're limited on the scope. If we were for-profit, we couldn't run a farmer's market. By shifting to a 501c3, in essence, restructuring our membership here, we're looking at a $40 a year membership structure, which I know runs different to what we've been doing in the past. But what this is going to provide us with is the working capital necessary to be able to get community gardens off the ground, to be able to get a farmer's market off the ground, and also begin to put some money in that we can utilize for an expanded retail store. Full membership benefits, the details of that are on the sheets that have gone around, but it's going to be, I laugh because when I was in the store, this has always been something that lacked clarity, truthfully. And so what this is really forcing us to do is getting really clear on what does it mean to give your time? What do you get for that time? How do we measure that time? All these things that are not fun to do, but you ultimately have to get to if you want to really be able to articulate what you're asking for and what you're providing in return. That's going to look exactly how it does now, but what this is going to allow us to do also is really start to look specifically at our products and say, we've currently been operating on just a basic markup for everything that comes in the store. And by doing this, we can start to say, what are our products that we're selling a lot of? How do we compare cost-wise to a Safeway? Is there opportunities for us to be cost competitive on necessary products? And so providing this $40 a year is going to begin to allow us to get a lot more specific in being, well, not specific, be more intentional in how we're pricing our products for our membership and also for the community so that we can then draw more membership as a result. Discounts on program participation, those are also detailed out in that sheet. And then, of course, as I've been talking about, providing regular revenue that supports the co-op as an umbrella organization and all of the services that we're trying to provide. The second piece for our current working members, those of us on the board and everybody that you see in the store that is volunteering, it's a $20 a year annual renewal. Full membership benefits to go with those that are on the back of that sheet. The discounts, same thing. And this is a big shift for us too, is that we're really moving more towards the Ole co-op model, which I always thought was a great model. Again, just the time to be able to put it into play, this is gonna force us to do that, where you're really now exchanging the time in for dollars that you then use at the register. And the way that works is, I believe we're structuring it as 6 hours equating to a 20% discount off of $100 worth of groceries, which for those of you as working members, pretty much everybody's hitting that anyway, so it doesn't really impact you. And I took this through in my head and just started thinking about, okay, you know, I'm a member and I paid my $75, and so what does it look like if I begin to pay $40 a year? And you know, the first thing I say is, okay, well, what am I going to get for that $40 a year? And so now, as a board member up here, I'm saying we have every intention in this year already of moving forward with the farmers market. We're hitting the ground very hard as well in the community gardens. The retail store, we're still working, that's still working on an expansion. So everything that we are asking in exchange for this annual membership is in the works and is unfolding this year. The other thing I looked at is I said to myself, okay, so if I belong to Yelm and I believe in this community and I want to see it thrive and be a participant in that, what would it cost me, right? What would it cost? Well, if I go to any for-profit business, that money goes nowhere. If they're a locally owned business, at the very least, it stays in the owner's pocket and then is recirculated in another business. If it's an out-of-state business, like a Safeway, just as a great example, headquartered in California, every dollar I give there, except for what's paid to the local employees here, goes back to California, it's gone. So where do I get the best return on my money? $40 a year coming through the co-op gives me a community service, gives me a community garden, a farmer's market, and a retail store that is in its transition working to provide locally grown foods, which is creating jobs throughout the cycle, reinvesting that back into the community through education. I mean, that dollar, I'm getting the best return for that dollar that I could. And then of course, lastly, I just say, well, what does it really cost me a year? And if you take 40 bucks, 365 days, it's like 11 cents a day. So I'm thinking to myself, could I find a dime in my couch for the next 365 days? Probably. But then we also even just went to the point of making it a quarterly payment, because again, it's like, for us, it's got to be manageable for everybody. And that's also why we have our membership here too, because it has to work. This isn't a sales pitch. It absolutely has to strike you somewhere that you say, I see where we are going, and I get that this is my piece of the pie, and if I'm giving my time, yeah, it's one half money, the other half is my time. But then at the end of the day, when we pull it off, you can actually say, I had something to do with this. That community garden out there, yeah, I'm a member of the Young Food Co-op. I pay my membership every year. That's where those dollars are going. And it's about that sense of ownership and pride in our community here that this restructure is really trying to resonate with. So that's just the pitch on how we've restructured there. Do you have anything to add, or is it questions?
Let me just say a couple of things. Have y'all seen those emails going around about the communities that are planting vegetables all over the place?
Yeah.
See that? And that seems really cool, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? In the little community of Young, which sits in the county of Thurston, it is illegal to have food produced inside the city limits unless you are educationally mandated, federally supported, or federally tax exempt community service organization. There are very real reasons why we have to move into this direction, first and foremost. When I went into the city to ask them questions about a new building that we're looking at to move on, the doors kind of flung open. That's not an experience I've usually had here in the city of Young. And so I have been trained, and when a door flies open, you keep moving. And I went to the next one, and I said, well, let's talk about the farmer's market. And they go, oh, by the way, we just passed the code that will finally allow it in the city. The lady who designed the code brought it out, we went through it, and I was like, oh God, this is more conservative than anyone I've ever seen before. And she goes, yeah. I go, this is great. She was expecting that it'd be the other way around, and I just kept telling her how great this was. And then another door flung open, and I kept moving. And the next one was, I said, well, if y'all are allowing the farmer's market now, what about the community garden? And she goes, no. And I said, but wait a minute. I just got through talking with some people over at the UCBO, and they've got these 2 acres there we were only talking, there's nothing going on there, but we were only talking, and I said, you know, and our mandate is that whatever's grown in that community garden, 50% of the food goes to the food bank. And she goes, and I said, you know, that it's an education-based garden. And she looks up, she goes, are y'all a 501c3? And I was like, yeah, real close. And she goes, that's the only way that you can grow food, not in your backyard, but you can grow food openly on property in the city of Yome, to have access to a community garden. It's got to not be a commercial venture, and it has to serve the community. And for the first time, all this work we've been doing to create this, all of a sudden it was like, we chose the right way to go, you know? This works. So it's not a matter of, do we want to do this? It's a matter of, this is the way we have to go to be able to create all of these programs within the city. And that's important. And the second one is, the feds, on the other hand, they need to see the membership structure a certain way. And it was a lot of work to come up that met their parameters. We have to have equal benefits for all members to qualify at the federal tax exempt level, all right? So we had to structure the new membership in a way that allowed for benefits. Everybody gets the same benefits. There's no special, okay? So what we did, we kind of used the Costco model, all right? You shop at Costco, gotta be a member. All right, got to pay $50 just to get in the door. But they have a second membership level, which is if you pay $100, you get the 2% back. Well, in our case, it was if you pay $20, you get to work and you get to have a discount on your food. But this membership policy here satisfies the federal parameters of equal benefits and membership equality. Okay, so what you're looking at in terms of everything I talked about and everything that Aaron talked about is that if we're going to go in this direction, this is the way it needs to look. If you like it, say yes. If you don't like it, then speak your mind. You know, or if you've got concerns about this, you know, raise your hand. Tom.
You just bring up 2 things. I'm speaking as an ex-board member as well as the chairman of the Strategic Planning Committee now. 2 things I would like to let this group know. Number one, about 2 months ago, I sat in on a planning meeting for the Chamber of Commerce. And the executive director spent some time afterwards with me and said, we have had proposals from various groups for the last decade who wanted a farmer's market. And they would come and say, hey, let's have a farmer's market, will you do it? The chamber said, no, we won't do it. You have to do it. They would go to the city would say, no, you have to do it. Nobody would actually come with a plan and make it happen. And Cecilia Jenkins said to me, you come with a well thought out plan, with the people in place, what it's going to look like, how it's going to operate. We will back you 100% at the chamber, and the city will back you 100%. So that was the first thing. We are now in a position to do that, and the city will be on our side. The other thing, some of you who have been in this community for a long time have noticed the churches were not always in sync with some of us. A year ago when I began looking into what we could do for expansion, the 2 people I were working for are outside the one community, very much in the church community, and they came to us and said, we have property and we want to work with you guys. We are going to dedicate a space for your community garden, for your farmer's market. We want to work together. We don't care about politics, we don't care about religion, we don't care about philosophy. We care about building our community. Andrea, in her role as the outreach chairman, Bill was involved in this initially, the Gifts to the Gobble, where we provided meals to, what, 30-some families or something?
More than that.
Through a number of churches here. The Emmanuel Lutheran Church on 3rd Avenue, we have been supporting them. I'm working with them in the Rotary Club and a completely different thing in the homeless project. These people have made the transition, and I'm assuming we have made the transition.
Yes.
The community is now bigger. It is no longer them and us. It's got to be we. Because this city has got 6,600 people and it need to survive if the proverbial stuff hits the fan. As Danielle said, some of us in here have got tremendous skill sets to do that. We need to focus it on the city and not just on ourselves. And this is a huge opportunity for us. So the doors have opened. We're now part of the community. Do you know what I mean?
There's a couple things that you didn't mention, Danielle, that I think could be really helpful for people to know. One is that there's a lot of legal support for what you're describing about, well, let me just say what they are. One is that a lot of cities, like Seattle is way in the forefront, and it's also happened in Olympia, have changed what people call CC&Rs, which are codes, covenants, and restrictions, to where you can now have livestock in these places. You can have chickens in your backyard, places like Seattle and Olympia. That's not legal here in Yelm, but it could change, just like the farmer's market thing did. And also the state of Washington, when Danielle was referring to the farmer direct thing, this would tie in with your farmer's market piece, because in the state of Washington, you can sell eggs from your farm at a farmer's market. Because if anybody has any problems with those eggs, they know where they came from. That's the philosophy or the thinking behind what the Washington state laws are. And I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I think there's a piece in there also even about buying chicken that way. So that expands what's available beyond just produce. It is more food.
And I want to capture that a little bit. The city really has created an extraordinary program. It is definitely one of the best I've ever seen, and I made sure they heard that out of my mouth a gazillion times. But there are details about what exactly the foods can be sold, what kinds of legalities of production that homestead and the city has willingly offered to help us work out the details. If there's a lack of clarity, then I'm going to come in and I'm going to work that out with them. That's why I sent out that very early, I know a lot of you got that very early kind of inquiry about the farmer's market. For those of you that saw that email, I've gotten a huge amount of feedback back from some of the larger producers in the area about, can I sell my rabbits? Can I sell my rabbit meat? Can I sell my chicken meat? Can I sell these things at the farmer's market? So I'm actually in discussion with the city, working out those details. So it will get clearer, but like I said, the doors have only been flinging open with them. They love it that somebody's taking the lead and that they don't have to be the sponsoring agency for the farmer's market. And the fact that there are so many people that produce a broad range, like she said, not just vegetables, but meat products, egg products, milk products, etc., and that those things can be made available and that you can generate an income from that. That's a huge step in the right direction for our community.
Yes.
So.
Brian, you have a question?
Yeah, first I wondered how many members are actually living in the city of Yelm. That's question A. And then the next question is, what happens if someone says, hey, I paid my, $75 or $135, And the agreement was that I have a lifetime membership. I mean, what do you do about that? I mean, you have a legally binding agreement because the co-op made an offer to that person accepted that offer, and that's a binding agreement. So what do you do when that happens?
I'd like to,
Okay.
so a couple of things. One, this is, again, it's all been about really getting to know the organization that has been created. The bylaws, as they've been originally written from the time of inception, it doesn't say specifically in there that it's a lifetime membership. That was surprising to me. So on that piece, there isn't any legality toward offering a lifetime membership. But I know from being in the store myself that that's verbally said to individuals.
And verbally is the same thing. I mean, legally, verbally is this contract too. If you tell them it's a lifetime membership, or if you put it on the form, it's still a contract.
The second piece to that though, Brian, too, is that we are fundamentally changing the structure of the organization. So in doing that, it's not a seamless transition. It's actually, I mean, by doing this, you're looking at a brand new organization. It can still operate as the same name, but as a 501c3, you're changing the structure of it.
Let me cut that to that a little bit. When everyone here votes for this change, you are voting to relinquish any implied lifetime membership. Once you vote on this, you are releasing the previous membership structure in favor of the new one.
But not for the people who aren't here. The people who aren't here haven't filled out one of these.
Legally, we have to have a 10% quorum
Yeah.
and a majority of the 10%. That is what is in the bylaws. So if a majority of the members, if a majority of the quorum of the membership vote yes, then what you're doing is you are changing what has been for the last 5 years to this new structure. That's what's happening. And in terms of addressing those people who have paid the $135 and have paid the $75, we have a section right here that says for those that have paid this $135 and $175, the option exists that you get 2012 for free. It's not required. But some people have already said, where's the checkbook? You know, where's my checkbook? I want this to happen. So it's an option available to the membership who have been in the past 5 years. You get a buy on 2012.
Trish?
First of all, thank you all for all the work that you're doing. Thank you very much. And to think this for our future. I have a twofold question.
Louder.
I have a twofold question. As a nonprofit, does that mean you don't qualify, or you can't go for commercial loans? And if that's the case, how is the expansion gonna happen?
Let Bill answer that.
Okay, and then I would love to hear a little bit more about how the retail expansion dovetails into this, a little more about that.
Also, we didn't answer the question about how many people are in the city.
Oh, right,
membership.
sorry,
It's an
Brian.
excellent question.
That was the other piece too, is of the 1,000 members even, I can't tell you definitively how many of them are active. We don't have that data. I mean, we
I
can
mean,
go
what are
through.
inside the city limits. I'm just curious, because we're talking about a lot about the people having to do with inside the city limits. When I know a lot of the people that go to the co-op, and I don't know not a single one that lives inside the city limits.
Yeah, but the store operates inside the
Right.
city
Yeah.
limits. So it's the business operations within the city limits that we have to manage.
Yeah, I
We're
get
not
that.
gonna move out to the Bald Hills. We're not gonna move out to some other.
No, but most of the produce and stuff is not gonna be grown in the city limits anyway.
But that doesn't matter. Only the community garden is gonna be, in the city limits.
And the farmer's market.
And the farmer's market. Where the people live who shop here at the farmer's market, or who volunteer at the community garden, or who shop in the store, actually live, really is irrelevant to the discussion. Because your physical location of your home doesn't bear on any of this.
And you can sell at the farmer's market, correct?
Yes, you can
live
sell at the
outside
farmer's
of town,
market no
yeah.
matter where you
Yeah.
live. You can come from 100 miles away and sell at the farmer's market. You will, one of the benefits, wherever we are here, is that if you are a member of the co-op, you will get a discounted booth at the farmer's market.
Okay, she's got questions.
But we got approved.
Tom, did you want to
Your
speak to
question
that?
had to do with how is the new structure going to impact expansion?
And loans also.
Well, yeah, whether you can get commercial loans as a private, as a nonprofit, and if not, how are you gonna grow the retail store when we're looking at like millions, right? Like a couple million to get it.
Right.
Well, first of all, we're looking at an interim renovation before we actually build. But Tom found this really cool vacancy out on my
So can you get commercial loans?
Yes.
He's gonna
Let Tom
address
answer the question.
The expansion, there's actually two parts of the expansion. One is what you're seeing here.
Can you talk louder, please?
Louder, Tom.
The other thing
Louder,
is
Tom. Can't hear you.
expansion of the store itself. We're looking at 2 locations right now that we could move into, and where we have a piece of property that's still a potential hold for us for new construction. So those are the 3 things we're looking at. The way I see the 501c3 impacting that is that once you are a nonprofit organization, at the federal level, donations become tax write-offable for the people who decide they want to donate money. It opens doors to grants that can support that expansion perhaps. It's not necessarily going to pay operating costs. But one other aspect, I have now had conversations with a bank in Seattle whose primary focus for where they want their money to go is for organizations that are nonprofit, are cooperatives, are dealing with food, and are community service oriented. And when I got done explaining what we wanted to do, what our vision was, the guy said, well, you kind of meet all 4 criteria. So that's not
How
an
much
open
do you
door.
want?
Have some money. But it was suddenly a bank out there who's geared towards what we think we're geared toward. I think in terms of, add to this if you want, but we have access to funds that may or may not be available to us now. The other thing I think is very important in terms of the city perhaps, and the county, even in the state, is as a 501c3, there's a certain credibility that's associated with that. The federal government has suddenly said, you guys are okay. Now, we can have our issues with the federal government and the IRS, but they still have something to say in our country, and if they say you guys are okay and we get their stamp of approval, that does open doors in addition to the ones that have already been opened. So how directly the 501c3 is going to help us expand the store, it's going to be indirect, I think. It's not going to be where suddenly funds are available other than donations that people can write off. We've had a gentleman come to us talking about the property we're looking at when its price was around $750,000. He said, if the numbers are right and the concept is right, I'll pay for it. This is the guy who would write a check for $750,000. Wouldn't it be nice to give him a document that says, and you can also write it off? So these are some of the things, and if you want to do that, oh, it's not, you know. We'll take the checks in the back and the way out.
That answer your
Do
question?
you want to answer anything else to add to that?
Other than that, we'd love to hear more about the retail expansion, but maybe this is, the time for that.
Any questions specifically about the new organization or the new membership? Concerns? Mike?
Mike?
In your list of the different areas of expansion for the new organization, you referred to the Cascadia buying region and the options of more farmer direct product that are right now locked down by international and transnational contract. And then when you went to the next slide, you kind of skipped over that particular aspect of how you would approach that with the organization, and went to community service gardens and locally grown and
Exactly.
education.
Okay.
Any thoughts on how you would start to expand the access to the region based on your prior experience?
Based on my prior experience.
I pulled carrots with you
Yeah.
a long time ago.
So for those of you that remember what is now J.Z. Rose, but used to be Thunder Market, and before that was Good Foodstuffs.
Yes.
When I moved into the community, I brought with me a cadre of farmers that I bought directly from and provided this community with farmer direct food. And I learned a lot. It was a great experience for me. In fact, I originally moved to Washington State in '86 to be an organic farmer. And I worked for 2 years up at the Mother Flight Farms in Skagit Valley. So my background was specific for this Farmer Direct directive, direction. So what I know now, and I've already started making phone calls to farmers, is that there's a new generation of farmer. There's a new generation of small-scale farmers who are taking the plunge, and we read about them all the time. There's also the old generation of farmers are really frustrated with where they're at and the force of the large-scale international food corporations. So on one hand, you got a whole new generation of farmers that are ready to look at new options, and you got an old guard that's like going, this is the new us, So the thing about farmers is that they're really cool people. I mean, they're really cool people. And you just give them a phone call and say, let's talk. And then all of a sudden, we're like figuring out ways to make these kinds of things happening. I believe, Mike, that part of the power of us being able to do this is that when we start developing those relationships, we're going to open up another category that the co-op's going to be able to operate, which is distributing these foods to the regions around us. It's one thing to be a strong community, but we're even stronger if we make the communities around us stronger. And if they in turn make the communities around them stronger, then all of a sudden we truly have a self-sufficient community. So the idea in building these farmer-direct relationships, we're starting really close right now. We're starting to develop contracts with our local farmers, all right, and start working with them in a very professional way instead of just like, hey, you got any carrots today? We're starting close, and we're going to start building those relationships one at a time. Part of the membership benefits that are not explicit in the new thing here is, like, maybe we'll get some contracts, one or two a month, and that will become a special. We'll email all the membership and go, hey, we got something really cool you might have never heard before, but maybe you want 25 or 50 pounds of it and play with it. Then we'll bring some in, we'll cook it up, we'll make some things with it, everybody tries the samples, and it's like, yeah, let's try that, because it grows here. It's a two-way street. It's not about just making farmers do what you want them to produce, but having an exchange with them. What can they produce? What are they interested in producing? And how can we incorporate that into our diets? It's a two-way street.
Aaron,
Yes.
what's the administrative burden of having an entire membership department like Costco, where you've got ID cards and annual renewals and mailers and reminders and people at the door, and family memberships become multiple IDs if you're over 18? Have you priced out the cost of that component?
No, and not, it won't be anything that we implement at full scale. We're gonna, again, it's like, our first phase right now is to get buy-in. If we get the quorum, then yeah, we'll bring that one in and we'll have to start looking at it. But I believe it can be facilitated pretty simplistically, truthfully, because we have the wonderful benefit of knowing most people by face and knowing by name. That lends to an amazing degree of simplicity versus a Costco where you couldn't remember me. If you put me in a lineup with two people, you pick the other person. So.
That's when they'll take your picture.
That's right.
The other thing, Mike, to answer your question, is that the co-op has already invested in an electronic point-of-sale system, which Debbie can speak to, is very adaptable to having swipe cards. We're going to start out with paper cards and use 2012 to kind of, get our feet wet with the new system. But we're hoping, we're planning that sometime this year we'll be able to move into the POS system and have the POS system talk really nice to the membership, and it just become automatic, just like it is at Costco. We're already set up to do it.
Other question?
Oh, just a couple things. To expand on what the last question, you've got working memberships. Not everybody can do the hard physical labor, but you can take advantage of that for some of that administrative work. The other thing I just wanted to say is that I graduated from the Enterprise for Equity, the micro business program, and they have a whole dynamic and energetic program solely devoted to farming. So you have an enthusiastic bunch of people that have gone through the program and are working with farmers now in our region. And I know we could bring them on board, you know, and I've got great relationships with those people.
Definitely.
So
Awesome.
there's gonna be a lot of farming, you know, farmers that grow herbs, that grow medicinals, all kinds of things.
Cool.
David?
John?
I had a question. Usually this 501(c)(3) takes many months, if not years. Obviously, some groundwork has been done. Assuming you get a yes right now, how long will it take to go with this nonprofit organization?
We have experience, well, with Phoenix School, we're gonna submit this once we're done with the paperwork, which we're very close to being done with the paperwork. We're weeks away from submitting, but we have some things to finish. Phoenix School got theirs in 2 months. Phoenix School did an expedited 501(c)(3), and that's what we intend to do too. Now, even if it takes 6 months or 9 months, from the time we submit the 501(c)(3) to the IRS, we can start collecting donations, and they're retroactively deductible for, I think it's 18 months or something. 27 months. So that would mean that even money we collected last summer is deductible under this new model, okay? So it's the big thing is to get that thing in the mail, to get an approval. If you all believe in this, like we believe in this, get an approval, we finish the process, we get it in the mail, and we're rolling. When the actual piece of paper comes, isn't as important.
One of the other aspects of that is, the community service organizations that meet needs for jobs, for serving a community the way that we are serving the community, get expedited treatment anyway. And it's very easy, and I guess, just one other thing. Had this organization not already existed for 5 years, we would have a much tougher time. The fact that this store has held together through thick and thin for 5 years establishes a very strong track record that shows that we're able to handle the momentum and the expansion into the future. So that is a real important and an acknowledgement for everyone who has contributed to the co-op for all of these years. So,
And there are humane people in the area.
yeah.
Two questions just to clarify, under general membership, have you established what the age is for senior membership?
No.
No.
We have a lot of details like that we haven't worked out. There's a lot of very small details we haven't gotten to yet, whether it's gonna be 60, 65, whatever. Those are details that at this point in time, we just haven't gotten to.
I mean, what's a senior in our community?
Well, just offer to give them years back. The other question is, members of other co-ops may shop in the Young Food Co-op at our prices. Will you be establishing relationships with some of the other co-ops so that people who are paying that 40 a year to Young, if they're in Olympia, they might be able to go and without paying the membership.
You show your card, in Bellingham, doesn't matter, you show them a card.
all over the country now.
Yeah, that already exists.
Tom?
This is an administrative point that addresses a little bit the point that Brian brought up about what about the people who aren't here? If you've noticed, we are videotaping the presentation. We will edit it and put it up onto YouTube, and then it will go on to the Young Food Co-op website, youngfood.coop. I know you all probably visit it 6 or 7 times a week. But what it will do is there will be an extended period of voting, I understand, for a certain length of time. That information will be in the public domain for people to look at. Please tell people that maybe by the end of the week, today is what? Sunday? By the end of the week, give us 4 or 5 days to do it. it will be on the website so they can go watch this presentation before they actually put a yes on the ballot.
I'm just wondering, as far as developing these lines of, with regional farmers and as far as supplying the young crop, are you contemplating also developing a relationship with the Olympia Co-op so that those farmers have more, wider
I
place to
don't work for the
distribute?
Olympia Food Co-op, but I would be happy to include their purchases through us on our trucks.
Yes, well, I'm just thinking it'd be a bigger incentive for the growers
And I have mentioned
to have a wider.
Exactly.
I'm ready to vote.
I just want to add something. For those who don't know who I am, I'm a cashier at the co-op. But something interesting happened to me, and this correlates with what Danielle just said about the government accepting more readily those thank you very much. So anyway, this man came in and he happened to be a rep for us. I didn't know him, but he said to me something that I really want to say in front of the board members. So this is a good time. He said, do you know, he's a rep for the whatever area. And he says, do you know that you guys are a fairy tale bookstore? All the co-ops talk about this co-op. I said, really? He said, yeah, you have, your co-op, not me, your co-op has a reputation for having done an incredible feat of maintaining. So just so you know that, everybody knows us.
And that is because we believed in a wing and a prayer, and by God, we did. On the membership, and it may get hashed out later, if we roll to this new $40 a year membership, we then do not honor other member cards?
From other co-ops?
No,
It's still the same, because we're still of the
Okay.
co-op family. We're just sort of re-envisioning what it means to be a cooperative, as Danielle had mentioned.
However, the other co-op members, other co-ops, those people who shop in our store and are maybe getting member prices will not get Danielle's email list for specials.
Right.
Okay. They won't get discounts, they won't be able to do the buy clubs. They don't get any other they don't get any benefit except to shop at our store at member prices. That's the exchange. As we continue to build membership benefits for our co-op, you're gonna have to join to get those access to those member benefits.
Okay, and then one more thing. When we first opened up 5 years ago, Olympia did tell me, or one of the steering committee, they would share their list of farmers with us if we wanted it. And we could then contact them to help them expand their business and help us.
They've actually published it online.
Okay. And that was it.
Yes.
It's very ambitious and visionary, what you're talking about, and it's very clear. And I'm just wondering, as a new, although I've been participating, but as a fairly newer member, I'm assuming to make that happen and continue opening and walking through those doors, there's going to need to be further meetings or planning, maybe that's already set, and I don't know how that is, I'm just wondering what the next step is.
Great. We weren't sure if we were gonna need this slide, but.
Since you asked.
Let me tell you what we look like right now. Right now, we're this. Okay? What we're doing is we're making the retail store a program. It will be a standalone, financially viable program. The farmer's market is a standalone, financially viable program. It has to make its way. The community garden is a standalone, viable program. The educational thing, which we're not, it's orange because we're not in development with it yet. We need the big new store, not the transition store. It'll be a standalone program. each one of these different kinds of programs gets funded differently, all right? Farmers market is funded by people doing the booths, profits from the booths. Community garden, primarily donations, grants. Same with the education aspect. What we've done is we've taken the store that is legal in the state of Washington as Yelm Cooperative, and we've created an umbrella organization called Yelm Cooperative. So that the IRS doesn't get confused, we're applying for the 501c3 as Yelm Cooperative, okay? But our new structure is going to be that the store, whose financials we're providing for them as a basis for our ability to do what we say we're gonna do, it's gonna be just one of the 4 programs. And the IRS is gonna get the whole kit and caboodle here. Now, in a nonprofit, you can't exist as a 501c3 unless you have an oversight board. So that's why the board is on top of the organization. We have an oversight board. We're actually actively looking for new board members who are willing to learn about 501c3s, learn about the responsibilities inherent in 501c3s, and are willing to take that kind of responsibility on behalf of all of the organization. However, each one of these programs has its own oversight committee, all right? So right now, the ops committee oversees the store. They report to the main organization. We are building the farmers market committee right now. We're building the community garden committee right now, all right? So, in the past, when you joined the board, you had to do everything, and it was crazy, okay? Now, we're exploded out the organization, and people call, they go, I'm interested in participating. I go, well, what are you interested in? They'll talk a few minutes, I go, you're gonna be really good on the farmers market committee. So there's lots of opportunities here for people to find their niche instead of have to join and then just go crazy and figure out how to survive on the organization or how to contribute viably to the organization. So talk to Bill, talk to Aaron, talk to them about what you see as your contribution. And if you decide to participate with the organization at this level, you have to be a member, because that means that the benefits you receive will be equal to everyone else's. Okay? So, you become a member, you can join strategic. Tom and I and Bill are strategic. You can join ops. You can join any of these committees, and the work you do on those committees goes towards your working membership. Okay?
So it's a $20 a year, and then you get the $100 20% off cards.
Right. So when you pay your $40 a year, you're actually joining this organization. And the funds are then earmarked for the store. When we charge for the farmer's market, we pay this organization. Those funds are earmarked for this program. This umbrella organization has its own account and accountability. This program has its own accounts and accountability. Same for each of these. It is very rare for an organization to already develop their full-on structure and then grow into it. Usually what organizations do is they start where they are and they grow their organization slowly. What we did something very radical. We said, this is it, this is what it looks like, and so we've structured it already that will then grow into it.
Need a card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There you go.
So with that, Danielle, then, is there like regular meetings going to happen for the whole umbrella to enjoin people to participate, or are you just letting it be, and if we contact you, then that's fine? Because, as you know, I'm interested in one of those, and it would be, I'm just wondering if there's a framework that can easily, quickly, like this, be able to get some people into different lanes.
There's email addresses on like for the strategic, there's an email address on the website, and Tom gets those, and what he does is he contacts the person who's kind of semi in charge right now, and then, like, I've already got an interest for somebody who wants to join this committee. So when that committee gets called, I'm just gonna put him on the list to be emailed. Board meetings are always open to all members. We meet second Wednesday every month. members can always come to board meetings, all right, and we really kind of like that. Planning committee meetings, I mean, this organization's not ready yet. I know you're interested, this one's not ready yet, but if you just inform us of what you're ready for as we move very quickly forward, then you'll be contacted when to meet and have a say in each of those committees.
I think part of it too is that because we're kind of waiting to see how this vote goes, if this vote goes with a thumbs down, then it changes the entire picture, okay? Then we'll basically be able to stop.
Right.
Okay, but if we get all thumbs up, then we're already looking at planting seasons. We're notifying farmers to start planting and planning for this. The community garden, we've already got a location, a prime location in town. There's a couple of acres that's been strongly suggested and has been donated essentially. This is moving forward. We do need a team to do this, but we have passion behind both of these. We have 3 or 4 people already on this. And as soon as we get the thumbs up, these mini boards, these management teams will start to get together. They will sort out their own structure, and they will sort out their own leaders and those kinds of things. At the moment, with the exception maybe of Andrea running this program at the moment, this is still looking for a head and for somebody to take it over and who's willing to put in whatever it takes to make it happen. This can be somebody's dream. Okay, we have a structure for it, we have guidelines for it, but at the moment, we've got other things on our plate.
Exactly. And if anyone is looking to become a working member in any capacity, we have just applications at the store, so you can come in and get that taken care of and fill it out at any point.
And could you state what roles that the people in the store perform?
Currently, store operations include cashiers, floor, people who oversee the floor, make sure that shelves are stocked, etc. We also have some positions for maybe a buying assistant. So there are, if people are really interested in the store operations, we're always looking for volunteers in that area.
And there's a list on the back of the membership form here. So.
And then if you're interested in volunteering for a committee, you also fill out the same form, and you get in touch with those people.
It gets us.
Like, we talked to AJM about a community kitchen. Are you still thinking about that, or is that off the?
The community kitchen has variable options for us at this point. The idea for the ultimate building is that our co-op, what we've talked about so far is that our co-op looks like a big kitchen in the middle with the groceries around it. That the central point is the production of food in all of its many capacities. So that is the ideal we're shooting for with the ultimate building. We're looking at ways of kind of being able to fit that in various ways for the interim sites that we're reviewing right now, just so we can get out of the small store.
One thing to answer your question, I made a little joke about the website. It is yelmfood.coop, not .com, .coop. And there will be a report, a blog post up there on this meeting. And at the bottom, I will put the email that I am now administering. It's called YFC Strategy at Gmail. It's the one that I'm funneling everything that has to do with the Strategic Planning Committee. And as you see, that has kind of the umbrella committee for all of this. If you would either remember that email address or go and check the blog, that information can be there. And I think what we might do is send out an email through the constant contact thing, those who go to the email list, would get that, giving you a single email point of contact. Tell us what you would like to do, give us your contact information, and we'll begin to process that and put it together.
And for those of you who want the email for the store, if you've got a pen handy, it's following. We also need you to re-up your emails because they may have changed. So, are you ready? Yes. Store, S-T-O-R-E, at yelmfood.coop, C-O-O-P. Store at yelmfood.coop.
Very good.
One question. I would say right now that that's fine, yeah. To me, I'm sorry, she was asking, is that where we send the emails if we're interested? I'd say that's a great starting point. Or if you do go to the website and you do find a specific place and you see Tom's email, you can email him directly.
Or Tom.
Really what I want to just tie in with this though is, it's like, we're restructuring membership because yes, we do need to, and the organization actually, because we do need to build financial capacity, but there's a very real human capital here that we are absolutely going after. And we're hopeful that this restructure ignites the passion in people to want to get involved in however you want to get involved. So yeah, I mean, if you have even an inkling of an interest, we just want to see who's out there.
And it doesn't have to be in something that has to do with the food. It can be in fundraising, grant writing, it can be in PR. I mean, we've got a whole, we're building an organization here that is going to be huge, multi-million-dollar a year community service organization. We're going to need a lot of people, okay? And whatever expertise you had out there in the real world or still have, we may have a place for that.
I think it would be helpful if you put the chart on, is it okay to put that chart on the website so we can see it?
Might be up there, is it up there?
No.
Oh, no, because it
Y'all
hasn't
have
been
it, y'all have
approved.
it, y'all have it approved together.
Have you all had a chance, I don't know whether you've already voted.
Yeah.
No, it's not basic. Can I get a show of hands? This is a non-official vote, but it will give us some guidance. How do you feel about it? Are you for this?
Yes.
That's what I wanted to see. Thank you.
Now, one other announcement, I might have missed it, because we need our bylaws require 10% of the membership constitutes a quorum. So we do not have a quorum here today. We would have needed 100. So the store will continue, you can continue to, not you, but other people can continue to vote in the store throughout the week. So other members who are on that application, remember how you have to be a member with your name on the application, they need to come into the store, talk to them, there will be a handout for them, an overview. Did you already do that?
I'll finish it today.
No, I mean, and they'll have an idea of what we're out, but you tell them, you share the wonderful information you've received today, and then they vote. We need 100 before, and we've got 50.
Yeah, and 51 of you need to say yes.
Did you know what I said? It would help if we had a list of who the member was, because I don't know.
Just
I assume that everyone I know is a member.
That's what
I'd go with that.
Just go with that.
That's fine.
Tell your entire class, who's hung out,